Guys, this is Rick Mount and Ken Stout with Fairway Independent Mortgage. And one of the things we wanted to do is help create a more seamless handoff or introduction to us as an introduction as your lending partner in the transaction. So we thought kind of what we would walk through is really we've identified there's three basic clients that you're going to run into. There's someone that does not already have a pre-existing lending relationship. That's a pretty easy handoff to address. And then there's the client that already has a pre-existing lending relationship. So that's a little more difficult. I definitely want to be sensitive to their need to choose, but also want to maximize your control over the scenario and the service they get. And then the third one would be potentially somebody that wanted to pay cash. So we believe that as an extension of your team and as your lending partner, all three of those categories are people that we should talk to help provide protection. So what we're going to do real quick for you is just kind of role play through a possible introduction is the way we would see the conversation taking place most of the time between you, the realtor, and the prospective client or buyer in this category. So Ken is going to play the role of the buyer, and I'm going to play the role of the realtor and provide the introduction. So we'll go through that, and then hopefully that'll give you some guidance and help as we move through this. So Ken, let's get started. We'll see how this goes.
So, Rick, I'm so excited to be working together on this new home purchase. I'm excited about working with you and your team. So I'm excited to understand what the next step in the process is as we move forward.
Well, Ken, we're excited to work with you too. There's a couple of things I would like to introduce you to my lending partner, and I'm not sure if you already have a pre-existing lending relationship, but I'd like to talk to you about it. There's really three critical points that by talking to our lending partner that they can help you accomplish. If you already have an existing lending relationship, we think that's great. We certainly encourage you to choose who you're comfortable with. But in today's lending climate, it can be difficult, and our lender has proven time and time again that they can perform and they help offer additional protection for you. So the first thing is to have you spend a couple of minutes with them. They're not attacking, they're not trying to steal you away from your current relationship, but it does a couple of things. Number one, it will help confirm that if you have a pre-existing lending relationship that they have done their job and created a thorough pre-approval that will protect you, and that's helpful. Number two, they've been great at helping identify other options for you that may exist that sometimes other lenders forget to choose, and it'll give you a free look to make sure that the offer you're getting is competitive. And then the third and probably most valuable thing that they do is in the lending climate, oftentimes things can happen during the transaction, and because you've spent a couple minutes with them on the phone, if you still choose to use your current lending relationship, if something should happen, we now have another lender that's familiar with your circumstances that can help pick up the ball and get to the finish line. So how would you feel about that?
I'd be open to that introduction. I did have a question as well because I was considering maybe paying all cash for this transaction as I purchased a new home. I don't know if you had any input about whether that was a good idea or if maybe I should pursue some financing.
Sure.
Do you have an opinion about that?
Well, I think paying all cash can be a great option in today's market, can certainly help your offer be more competitive. However, I still think it would be advantageous for you to talk to the lender. I think with interest rates still being at or near historical lows, there's a different argument to be made today about whether you should be using your own cash or borrowing at cheap interest rates. And our lender's pretty good at helping you identify what that is. One of the things that we appreciate about them is they're a consultative approach as opposed to a sales approach. So they're not going to sell you anything. They're very good at just kind of weighing out the options and helping you make a healthy decision. So I think, again, if you talk to them for a couple minutes, I think that'll help bring some clarity to your decision making and certainly would give you both options.
I appreciate you sharing that. I definitely wouldn't mind speaking to another lender if it meant that there was no obligation and potentially I could end up in a better situation and definitely protect myself through the transaction. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know there is no obligation. We are very comfortable with you making a healthy choice. The reason that we do try and make it a requirement that you talk to our lenders for all those protective purposes we talked about. One, to make sure that the pre-approval that you have gotten will stand up in the test of time. The worst thing we can do is get you in the contract and have something fall apart. Right. The second thing is to give you another free quote to make sure you're getting a very competitive offer. And then also to expose any other potential ideas that may be available to you as far as loan structure or loan programs. There's a lot of moving parts out there, so you just want to make sure that you've got all the answers you need. And then, like I said, most importantly, getting them involved. Should you still use your other lender, but something falls short or we have an issue, I now can quickly engage them and they'll move a lot quicker and still help protect our closing timeline. So
Sure. And that might be most important because I've heard the lending environment is very challenging these days and things are changing all the time. So
yeah.
that might be a great idea.
So as you guys can see, Ken and I have gone through that, walked you through a couple of samples of the objections you would get, but I think really it boils down to the three critical points of interaction. One, to confirm that the pre-approval they may have already gotten is going to stand the test of time. Two, to give them a free quote to make sure that what they're being offered is competitive, and in line with that also expose maybe other options that they may have that some lenders just fail to offer or just aren't adept at providing. And then the most important one is obviously being able to be familiar with the circumstances should they still use or choose to use their existing lending relationship. We can obviously become engaged a lot quicker and still maybe protect your closing timeline. So hopefully that helps. We look forward to working with you. If you have any questions along the way, we're here to help. Thanks, guys.